welcome to tonight's edition of Resuscitation Leadership Conversations. And of course, just as usual, when it is 6 o'clock, we go live every single Monday and we bring to you guests who are able to debunk some of these critical issues of leadership. And tonight, we are continuing and we are talking about the issues of relations in the workplace, or the relationships, how to manage relationships within the workplace environment, particularly at this time of the COVID-19 pandemic. The emergence of COVID-19 has ushered in a new era in the workplace which needs to be managed for the survival of both organizations as well as the employees. Many companies have buckled down to the pressures of this pandemic, while others have been kept afloat for various reasons and by various reasons. But as the workplace, you will find that most cases we need to be relating to one another, and these relationships are key for these organizations that we lead. And tonight, I have called in an expert. I have called in a manager and a leader in his own right, a leader who has navigated through the financial environment, a leader who has been, in 2011, the best boss of the year. And now, who am I talking to? I am talking to Pastor Christ Mukoki. On Facebook, he has an extension, Sono. But obviously, between him and I, he is Pastor Chris. Pastor Chris, good evening. How are you? No, I'm glad. I'm glad you're here. Because yeah. Yeah. Just before we get into the topic of today as such, but the church and the pandemic, you have been navigating that space as well.
Yeah, no, church has been going on. No problem. Church has been going on so well. You know, if we stick to the rules,
yeah.
If they say 50 people, get 50 people in.
Yeah.
Then if more than 50 come, then have a second service. If another 50 come, have a third service.
Yeah.
So it just wants people to get involved, you know, and try and reach out to as many people as possible out there.
Yeah.
But it is possible. Church has been no problem at all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like last week I was with, in fact the past 2 weeks I was with Dr. Joe Mabuela, and when we were talking about it, it was still the same thing. Manage things appropriately so that we can be able to navigate this pandemic in a manner that succeeds in all ways.
You see, the biggest challenge that we need to do, we need to assure people that we are doing things safely. So we've got to stick by the protocols, sanitizing, keeping a register, social distancing, putting our mask on, cleaning hands most of the time.
Yeah.
You know, and the toilets have got to be spot on, they've got to be clean. You know, we've got to stick to the rules.
Yeah.
If we stick to the rules, then people have got confidence to come to church.
Yeah. And you take the same, and then you go to it in the corporate environment.
You see, actually, church should do what the corporate is doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the corporate are in the forefront of this.
Yeah.
So big financial institutions, you go in there at the gate, you know, you sanitize, you go in there, there's a register, you know, they take the temperature, you know, they are in the forefront of this.
Yeah.
And church should not be left behind.
Church should not be left behind. And church has this manageable number of people and employees, so to say. But then the corporate environment has a bigger environment, and it needs more skills to navigate through that as well.
Yeah, you see, in the corporate world, thankfully we've got media and people can work from home.
Yeah.
So working from home, it means that you've got to have some good contracts with the telecommunications companies for people to buy data, for people to have laptops to be able to work from home. So now in the corporate environment, you have to invest.
Yeah,
a lot.
I wanted us to deal with that part towards the end, because it's very important. You can't say we are managing it this way, but then there is no infrastructure that is actually given to the people, because now you're transforming homes into workspaces, and that is another thing. But I wanted us to look at the relationships, the importance of relationships within the workplace environment at this particular time. Because, you know, I have been to a number of companies, and when you go there, sometimes you kind of get a feeling that you're not trusted. You're getting into the space, and you're somebody that people don't know. And everywhere when you go, then the issues of the masks, even those that did not have their mask on, they start to put it on. And those kind of things. In the environment where you work and in all other environments, how do we manage that? Because if we start not doubting each other or doubting each other, then it creates a bigger issues going forward.
So the first thing to do is to create the team to know that we are there for one goal, and there's only one goal.
Yeah.
So you create the confidence within the team itself.
Yeah.
That you are doing the right thing. There must not be anyone in the team that doesn't follow what is being planned.
Yeah.
So now everybody in the team has got to play their part.
Yeah.
So now when everybody plays their part, now confidence grows that these people are in it.
Yeah.
So, but people must know that it is not about anybody. It's about us, the organization.
Yeah.
It is about revenue. It's about sustaining the organization. It's
Yeah.
about jobs. It's about providing a service out there. So they must know that COVID must not stop things. So now when you build these relationships, people must know that you have to have a goal in mind.
Yeah.
What is our goal? If you're in business, the goal is profit.
Yeah.
The goal is jobs.
Yeah.
And the goal is providing a service. And the goal is sustaining the business.
Yeah.
So that's very, very important. So now when you create that kind of relationship where people know what the goal is, then it's much more easier.
Yeah.
It's much more easier. And also give people information of what is going on out there.
Yeah, because that is very critical. Even if you're managing here, but the issues of the pandemic are changing almost on a minute-by-minute basis.
Absolutely.
And without people getting those kind of updates from the organization itself, it sort of leaves them with a gap in between.
Absolutely, because also with information, there are also conspiracies out there. So now you need to be able to tackle conspiracies and address them and give them the facts. Because COVID is about following science and doing things scientifically, using the scientific findings and do things in a scientific way.
Things that can be substantiated in a way.
Absolutely. We cannot do things haphazardly and say, so-and-so is saying this, so-and-so is saying this. We cannot work on conspiracies.
And here is another dynamic. The dynamic is that you find that you and I understand our objectives. We understand exactly we are standing together for the sustainability of the organization and also for our own families.
Yes.
But then I get attacked. And then I have to follow the normal 14 days of isolation and things like that. Yeah. And I'm coming back to work.
You see, there's a big problem there because people don't have information.
Yeah.
That not everybody that catches COVID will be treated.
Yeah.
Not everybody who catches COVID will die.
Yeah.
Not everybody who catches COVID will need to go to the hospital. So sometimes people need to be given more information as to why we are saying stay 14 days, isolate yourself, because there is a period that this virus can be able to germinate or
what do
to
they
multiply,
call it? To multiply itself.
Yes, yeah. So now there is a period. So now in some other people, it doesn't do anything at all. So now people need to know, and they must not use COVID to discriminate against other people.
That's exactly what I wanted to say.
Yeah. So now in the corporate space, for instance, where you've got people of different colors,
Yeah.
So some people tend to think that, no, this is a white thing or this is a black thing, or, and only to find out there is no color involved.
Yeah.
COVID does not know any color. It is real, it is out there, and people need to take precautionary measures.
Yeah. Interestingly, when you're talking about this issue of lack of information, and we as individuals, we are more inclined into social media for immediate information. But organizations have their own communications team. They have their own research teams that are supposed to be giving that kind of information. And how important is those kind of structures within organizations so that people can be informed? Because if there is not much coming from the organization itself, it leaves people to scatter, and in the process, they'll come up with information like you're talking about, the conspiracy theories, which will end up bringing confusion within the organization.
So information within the organizations is very, very important.
Yeah.
Now remember, each and every employee represents a family.
Yeah.
So now if the organization is giving the right information, that person goes home in the evening, they impart the right information to their children, to their wife. Their wife works somewhere else, or their children go to school.
Yeah.
Now, the correct information gets transmitted in that way, even if it comes from one source or maybe from one organization.
Yeah.
So it can filter down to as many people as possible.
Yeah.
So it's very, very important that people realize that information from companies is important, but then also it's important for people to know the right information and take the right information and not add anything that was not given.
Yeah.
So people need to watch social media very, very carefully, because there's a lot of conspiracies that go out there.
Yeah.
So social media is good, but it is not good to transmit information.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
It also depends on where the people are drawing that information from, and whether it can be traceable and things like that.
Absolutely.
Because it's very important to have, even if you're getting it through social media, but can you trace the source that is actually giving you that information?
So people cannot just believe a tweet from someone and say so and so has tweeted this. So a tweet is not necessarily the truth.
Yeah.
So some tweets are there to create the shock element.
It's just the, what do we call it? It's opinions. Opinions that are bringing in the shock element, because it's attractive. It takes people by with excitement in that way.
Yes, absolutely. So that is why it's very, very important for people to read. And then we need to encourage our people to read a lot.
Yeah.
And also look at credible TV stations.
Yeah.
Because not all TV stations will give out the right thing, of course.
Yeah.
So people need to look for the credible, well-known sources. And the most important thing is, can this source be traced?
Yeah.
Where does it come from?
Yeah.
So now, for instance, if you go onto Facebook or go onto Twitter, somebody has pasted some information there. And now you find you look at the website.
Yeah.
You don't even understand what is this website.
Yeah.
Just go in there and search that website and see what they do.
And some of these websites, when you go into them, it says error. You can
some of them don't exist. Some of them are just there to create panic.
Yeah.
So people will post information that come from non-existent websites.
Yeah.
That's why it's very important for people to look at credible news organizations.
Yeah.
So now, without naming names, there are very, very good sources of information.
Yeah, that's true. When we come back, I want us to talk about the issue of risk, because risk also needs to be navigated. The risk between the organizations and the risk of lives within the amongst the workforce within the organization. So it's important for us to touch on that, but we will deal with that when we come back. This is how we actually pause it for now, and we are continuing immediately after the break with Pastor Christ Mukoki.
He's not afraid. He speaks his mind. He likes the challenge. He's your first aid guy. He's called to resuscitate your thoughts, your dreams, your passions. Mano speaks motivation. He has a passion to influence. He is a passionate leader. He teaches inspiration, enthusiasm, awareness, courage, acceptance, faith, decision making, and action. He is the principal of radio. He's an author. He's a leadership coach. He's certified school leadership coach. He's an entrepreneur. He is a soft skills trainer. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand up and put your hands together for the principal. Mano Ramadwa.
Welcome back to Resuscitation Leadership Conversations with Mano Ramadwa, and we are coming live exactly from here, Greater Glory International Ministries. And of course, this is what we do every single Monday from 6 until 7. Now, today we are discussing a very important conversation because it's all about managing relationships within organizations during this time of COVID-19. And of course, as we are seated here, I am with Pastor Christ Mukoki, and we are dissecting this because it's important for us. Before we went for the break, we were just about to talk about the issue of risk. And Pastor Mukoki, how do we mitigate risk in the organization?
So,
especially at this time.
So remember, risk is very, very broad.
Yeah.
So, and risk, there is a chance that whatever we try to mitigate may not happen at all.
Yeah.
So, in an organization, the risk that you have is the risk of revenue,
yeah,
the risk of sustaining the company,
yeah,
the risk of health for the staff workers,
which may lead to life-threatening
yes,
conditions.
Yes, absolutely, and also the risk of the company closing down.
Yeah.
So now one has to make sure that you take appropriate steps. Each and every company needs to mitigate the risk,
yeah,
one way or another. So now let's look at the revenue risk. So now remember, when people are in lockdown, they don't go out of their houses.
Yeah.
They cannot go and shop. So many companies will lose,
yeah,
because nobody is coming to buy. So now companies need to mitigate this kind of risk and say, now, because people are not coming out, what do we do to go and get their money?
Yeah.
So now they need to come up with diverse ways and say, and maybe move to the internet.
Yeah.
Start selling on the internet. So go to the banks and start using EFTs to transfer money.
Yeah.
And use their vehicles to deliver their goods to the staff members.
When you talk about that, I have seen with the it looks like the financial sector, especially with the banks, they had actually gone one step ahead, because the cards which people use had already been taken to one step ahead, where they could tap, because many other companies were no longer were afraid of taking physical cash, and because the machines would lead to people having to punch in there and all these logistics. So it's a matter of you hold your own card, you tap it, and then you go. You have not really done much in terms of risking your own infection in that sense.
And you know, this tap and go started about 4 years ago.
Yeah.
With one of the biggest banks in the country.
Yeah.
And people said now it would never work. So now, and this company was already thinking ahead that you don't want to touch machines because of the risk of infection. So you just go and tap in there, so your card and tap. You out the hold of your card, you just tap.
Yeah.
Okay, you go. So, and tap and go has proven to be one of the risk mitigating factors of the day.
Yeah.
During this pandemic. So now, companies must be in the forefront of risk mitigation for their staff members, for the existence of the company, for their customers, and for the economy.
Yeah.
Because if companies are not operating during COVID, there is no economy. So now another risk that we have, for instance, would be the risk of electricity not being there.
Yeah.
So companies would need to mitigate, would need to buy generators, would need to get UPS,
yeah,
to be able to mitigate this kind of risk. So companies must be in the forefront as well.
And especially when people are no longer, when a sizable number of workforce is forced to work from home, like what is still happening now. A lot of companies, their workforce is still at home. But here is someone who lives in Kagiso, and Kagiso has a tendency of around 7 o'clock there is no electricity, and maybe at that time someone who works for the financial sector must be logging in and start work, and now the laptop can't actually sustain because there is no power. Those are some of the risks that we talk about, which is electricity based.
Yeah, so that is why most companies, they've bought something called dongles.
Yeah.
So a dongle is something linked to the internet. And they've got also something called VPS.
Yeah.
So VPN, sorry.
VPN, yeah.
Virtual private network. So now some companies have actually bought space.
The data space.
The data space to secure it for them to communicate with their customers. So now these customers are using VPN to be able to secure that space and be able to work continuously.
Yeah.
And some of them have also invested in batteries for their laptops.
Okay.
So now they rely heavily. So now one thing that we need to thank ESCOM for, not the lack of electricity, but then for providing
the space
and the schedule and say,
okay,
we are going to load shed at this time, and they stick to that time. So companies mitigate their risk based on that as well. And say, by the way, from 10 o'clock to 12 o'clock, there's no electricity. So now the batteries that we buy for our staff members need to be at least giving us 2 hours
of power.
Up until we get power again. So it's very important that these risks are mitigated in a correct way.
Because it now creates a space for good relations between the companies and the clients, as well as the employees who are finding themselves at the center of this whole thing.
Absolutely. And also the staff, the companies are able to deliver the goods to their staff, and the staff is able to deliver this to the customers.
Yeah.
And the customers are able to pay. Why? Because they are receiving the service, anyway, whether there's COVID or not.
It's quite interesting because when we are also talking about this risk, we cannot actually just leave out the issue of conflict within the space itself. Now, here is a situation where people are in conflict for various reasons, and it is at this time where some of the conflict sometimes might actually erupt as a result of people not trusting one another, like we were speaking about it. Someone has been on leave for 14 days, coming back, and then someone says something and then it affects them or something like that. But also because the emotional space of individuals during this time is quite heightened, because some people are living in fear and all those kind of things. And it's just a recipe for conflict from time to time.
You see, conflict will always happen.
Yeah.
Even yesterday, there was a game of Chiefs and Pirates.
I thought we were not going to go there.
But then it's something that creates conflict.
Yeah.
You come to the workspace, somebody is a buccaneer.
Yeah.
They're not happy for this day. Now somebody comes in the Chiefs.
Yeah.
It creates conflict and people don't want to work together. People now it invokes their emotions.
Yeah.
Then it invokes the private working space. So conflict is normally caused by personal problems that people have.
Yeah.
And the behavior that people have. So, and also, if companies are not in the forefront, giving more information to the staff about this goal sharing. Why are we here? We'll always have conflict. So, and people think that their department is more important than another. So people look at the storehouse as less important, and they look at the HR department as being much more important. So it will create conflict. So, but then if the company creates this goal amongst people's heads, that we've got one goal, irrespective of the department that you work in, and be able to respect each and every department for its importance. So now, I know of companies that don't respect the people that clean. People that sanitize, people that go to the toilets and clean and everything else. And they're missing the point.
And that, you know, when you look at people who are in such spaces, they feel discriminated one way or another because, you know, people just assume that because you're cleaning, you might not even have a matric certificate. And yet we're talking about someone who has a degree or a diploma in something that could work very well for the organization.
Yes, absolutely. And that person that's doing the cleaning is the custodian of the health of the chief executive. Or is custodian of the health of the executives, because they use the bathrooms, they use everywhere else, they use the kitchen. So the health there is very, very important. That is why the cleaning staff members are very, very key. And they should not be discriminated in any way. And the protection, their protection must come first. They need to have the PPEs to be able to do the job properly. They need to be equipped well. They need to be given information. So it's very, very important, or it is key, that conflict is avoided by valuing each and every sector of the business and make sure that each and every employee is valued and is acknowledged as such for their contribution.
And where conflict arises during this time, I know for some other organizations it will be that will be less because they are operating with less staff members within the workplace. But for other organizations that could not really let people operate from home, there's more people to manage. During this time, how difficult it is to sort of manage this kind of conflict, especially with the issues of social distancing taking place within the organizations. The other day I went into one organization, what used to be a workspace of 4 people, you know, the desk here, desk there, desk there, desk there, which are all demarcated by the glass. Of course, we appreciate those kind of measures. But when we talk social distancing in that environment, now you find that a desk of 4 is now used by 2 people to accommodate social distancing. And in a situation where you find that the 2 people are now fighting, or there is conflict among the staff for the issues of space, when we know that we are already constrained, how do we deal with such?
Yeah, you see, number one, with conflict, there is no way that it can be managed without information. Yeah, so people need to be empowered with information, number one. So, number 2, people need to be given alternatives. So now, the work from home is a very good tool. It can be promoted where people can rotate. So now, because we said an office of 4, now 2 people are working in there. So now we need to rotate and say, this week, these 2 people work. The following week, you work from home and the other 2 people come to the office. So now, if you alternate, then you make people feel much more comfortable. And people are sharing the privilege of working from home equally, because they come in for a week and the other people come for a week. So now conflict is avoided one way or another. But it is not completely easy to avoid conflict. it has to be managed.
It just needs to be managed, and this is particularly one example of managing it,
Yes.
where you find employees, scrambling for the space, or maybe where people feel like they own certain spaces and all those kind of things. But it's very interesting, and I want us to pause a little bit and take another short break. When we come back, we will be going into one of the most difficult now when it comes to the issues of the PPEs. You don't have to touch that dial. Wait for us as we go for a short break with Pastor Chris Mukoki. And when we come back, we deal with the issues of the effectiveness of the PPEs and the role that it plays when it comes to assisting us to manage these relations within the workspace and the environment.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really needed
professional services.
And I kept searching.
and searching.
There are so many choices.
It's really hard to find one that has all the things on my list.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
Thank you.
Welcome back to Resuscitation Leadership Conversations. My name is Mano Ramadwa, and if you have just joined us, I am sitting with Pastor Chris Mukoki, a leader and a pastor of a church, but more than anything else, we are discussing the issue of managing relations within the workspace, and especially at this time of COVID-19. You got us when we were just about to start talking about the issues around the PPEs. And Pastor Mukoki, we get into the environment. This is what I've observed. You and I get into the space. We know that we must actually wear our masks and we must sanitize. We must do all the other normal protocols. And the company, maybe they have supplied us with all this. But 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, and we become so comfortable. And then all of a sudden you find that people are moving around and what should be our protective measure is no longer as functional. How effective are these protocols immediately after time when all people are now used to one another, and we have gone after past the 14 days. Now I know with Pastor Mukoki, if he had it, we would have been hearing him coughing or sneezing at this time. But it looks like he's okay. Yeah. So,
you see, one thing about this, you cannot tell somebody that has got this virus by just looking at them.
Yeah.
So PPEs play a very, very important role. And then, for instance, a mask. People must know that a mask doesn't protect the wearer of the mask.
Yeah.
The mask protects the next person.
The next person.
From getting it, because it holds everything inside.
Yeah.
So a mask plays a very, very important role. So everybody must play their part. Now the management of the company must play their part in enforcing these rules.
Yeah.
So in the banking institutions, they've got cameras all over the place.
Yeah.
And security are busy watching who's not wearing, and they come and tell you to put your mask and everything else. Why? Because it is important.
Yeah.
It is very, very important that everybody must wear their mask, because you cannot control what comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
You try, you can't. So masks must be enforced. PPEs are very effective, even though not 100%.
Yeah.
But then the masks that they do these days, they claim that they can protect up to 95%. So it's better for somebody to be protected 95% than 0 times. So another thing is, people become complacent.
Yeah.
So I'm coming from a family just now. The head of the family just passed on 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And everybody in the house had COVID. So people become complacent and think that, no, I know this person, they can't have it.
Yeah.
I know it, no, this is my brother, this is my wife, this is my husband. The sad thing is you don't know where they have been.
Yeah.
You don't know who they've interacted with. You don't know what they have touched. When they come back home, yes, it is your brother, it's your sister. But then they were with other people before. They touched certain things out there and everything else.
Yeah.
That is why each and every house, when people come in, there has to be a sanitizer. People get sanitized before they go into the house. Each and every house should have a sanitizer. When people come in, they need to sanitize. Because you really cannot take chances.
And it just brings in the issue of the proper hygiene, because the more you get conscious about this, the more you apply the normal hygiene, even if it's not a sanitizer, but frequently you go into the
Bathroom,
the basin and then wash your hands with soap and all that. But I also want to understand from a company's point of view, organizational point of view, does this now call for organizations to have a re-look at their policies, their health policies within, or maybe the health and safety issues within the organization?
Actually, most companies now are modifying their health, their occupational health and safety.
Yeah.
So they are adding things such as these in their policies.
Yeah.
They are adding things such as these in the interviews when they speak to people. They enforce these things.
Yeah.
So, but then unfortunately, not all organizations can be able to do it because of lack of resources.
Yeah.
So, but then we need to commend these big organizations that are modifying and leading the way. So policies are changing. Policies are accommodating the wearing of masks. Policies. I don't think the wearing of masks is going to end.
Yeah.
Not in the next 3 to 5 years. I think it's going to continue for up to 5 years or even more. Social distancing, I don't see it ending.
Yeah.
It will continue. So remember, when people get conscious about their own environment, now they start to teach other people as well.
Yeah.
So now I was at a crèche that my wife owns and runs from the church. So as I come in there, I need to go in, sanitize. And when I go to the kids, I greet them. They greet me like this.
Yeah.
So now it will be a culture that is being formed.
Yeah.
So now the greeting with the elbow is going to be the culture for life. It's going to be culture for life. There will be no handshake anymore.
Things have shifted.
Things have shifted.
Yeah.
And I think for the good, because people are now becoming health conscious. Health conscious, of which is something that we should have done a long time ago.
Yeah. Now, in an environment where we are now operating, it's an organization, we have all these and all our PPEs and stuff. As employees, as colleagues, how can we assist one another and create a good relationship while we are also maintaining that we go on and become strict with the protocols without offending one another? Because that is very key, because someone might be having a different belief from different from your own, but as people working for this particular organization, we are bound by the protocols and the values of the same organization. But how do we mediate that so that I don't end up offending you?
So people need to be held accountable.
Yeah.
So now somebody cannot come to the company where we've got one goal, we want to do something, and they say, no, I believe this.
Yeah.
No, it doesn't matter what you believe. The company says PPE is compulsory, you've got to put it on. So people must be held accountable with no favor and no fear.
Yeah.
So now the minute somebody comes and brings in their own belief, then we are going to be divided again.
Yeah.
Because somebody would believe that, no, a mask doesn't work for me, or the mask, they come with a half mask, they close the mouth only and they leave the nose. No,
that one we must say, it just looks uglier.
Absolutely. But then people must be held accountable.
Yeah.
So now we spoke about policies.
Yeah.
So some companies are adding that in their disciplinary policies.
Okay.
So people that don't adhere to health and occupational safety rules are taken in for a disciplinary. So for instance, in banks, for instance, we know that some people might want to have fresh coffee.
Yeah.
They may think it's much more easier for them to bring their own kettle, bring their own tea bags, bring their own milk and sugar and make their own coffee in the bank.
Yeah.
But then that is not allowed. You are not allowed to bring your own kettle.
Yeah.
If you bring your own kettle, you are subject to a disciplinary. It's in the policy.
Yeah.
So the COVID has added some disciplinary clauses.
Yeah.
So failure to wear PPE. It's attempted murder or something.
Yeah.
Because you are putting other people at risk. And not only them, their families as well. Because you infect them, they go back to their own families. Now they've got a problem.
Yeah.
So it's very important that people are held accountable and proper disciplinary processes are followed for the people who don't follow process.
So I'm very interested in what you have just spoken in terms of the accountability and because many organizations also, as you have just rightly put, the issues of the kettles and all that, some don't just have that, but there are cups which are used by everybody.
Yes.
And because they're used by everybody, you may find that there is one person who is responsible for keeping them clean and all that. And I'm talking in terms of after everybody else has cleaned whatever cup they have used. And that lady who has been employed, or that gentleman who has been employed to keep that environment clean, would go on and do some more. But in the interest of everybody, they bringing that confidence to the rest of the staff. What can organizations do I know we cannot just create that environment which would be 100%, but what can the organizations do to sort of alleviate the fear amongst people to say, hey, the cups that have been used there, I now have a big challenge, especially when there are people who have been in and out because of the infections and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I know of companies that actually have got dishwashers instead, not people washing the dishes.
Yeah.
So they've got dishwashing machines. Those cups are put in there, sanitized in there. Now the person just comes to remove them, wearing the right PPEs and put them at a particular place.
Yeah.
So now in their kitchen environment, they've got sanitizers all over the place.
Yeah.
So now before you go and take a cup, you sanitize your hand, then take the cup in there, prepare your tea and everything else. When you bring it back, you go in there, put it there, sanitize, then go out. So some companies are taking this very, very seriously.
Yeah.
So I'm just afraid of the small companies where revenue is not that great, where they are not big enough, because these PPEs have come in with a new cost to the companies. The goods are going to be expensive now because companies must recoup what they've used to buy the PPEs and to sanitize and do all those kind of things.
And just to keep the environment, like let's talk retail, for example. In the retail stores where you have shelf packers, they need to use these PPEs. They need to sanitize their hands and that is an added cost.
Absolutely.
And that cost will definitely be carried out on a tin of beans.
Absolutely.
Instead of a 10 rand, it might just go up to an 11 rand, and it affects everybody in that sense.
Absolutely. So PPEs do work, but then they've come in with a huge cost.
Yeah.
So, and also, people need to be careful where they buy these PPEs, because some of them are not really compliant.
Yeah.
So people need to buy them from the right places and then take it from there.
Yeah.
But remember, everybody must be held accountable.
Yeah.
That is the fundamental point about PPEs.
There's a diary for everything. And you have gone on to write about a diary as well. The diary of what?
Yeah, a diary of life. It's about my life.
It's about your life.
Yes.
And for those who are sitting at home who wonder what we are talking about Pastor Chris Mukoki's book as we are wrapping this conversation. The diary of life.
Yes.
Talk to us about that.
Yeah, so it's about, actually, it's an autobiography.
Yeah.
So, but then in this autobiography, I've made it to be paying tribute to the destiny providers, or to the destiny makers.
Yeah.
Because each and every person in life, you meet people that help you to reach a certain stage. So now, when I won this award in 2011, the one that you have mentioned, I reflected on my own life. I said, but then who contributed? Because it was not me.
Yeah.
It was not my wisdom.
Yeah.
It was not my actions. Some people contributed. So now I went back into my life right from grade 1, or SAPE A, as we used to call it, to look at the people that had an input in my life. So now that life diary is a book about paying tribute to the people that have played a role in my life, to what I am today. And also to encourage people to continue to do good to other people, because they don't know what those people can become in future.
Yeah.
So that is why this life diary.
And it also helps people to reflect on their lives, especially those who have now become successful, because you end up forgetting the people that actually contributed so much in your life. And I congratulate you on such.
No, thank you. And also, at the end of each and every chapter, I've left a space for people to reflect.
Yeah.
And I ask questions. Who played an important role in your life?
Yeah.
Ask probing questions, and people need to take a pencil and start reflecting on their own lives.
Yeah.
So, for instance, when I was in SAPE A, I used to have a big head.
Yeah.
So my body was disproportionate to the size of my head.
Yeah.
And at primary school, kids tease you.
Yeah.
So now they used to tease me a lot. But then my primary school teacher in SAP A saw that. And then she used to call me each and every time.
Yeah.
She told me how clever I am. How I have got a big brain that I can never fail.
Yeah.
My brain is so big, it can accommodate so many things.
Yeah.
So now I started to get confidence. So now I've acknowledged that teacher in the book.
These are the teachers that in my book I actually speak strongly about, who teach to inspire.
Yes, absolutely.
And she, was it a lady?
A lady, yes.
She taught you and inspired you to become.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
now when you go around, you now had a defense mechanism.
Absolutely.
When people were calling you big head, you would say, big head and big brains.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I would actually be proud.
Yeah.
And funny enough, it also helped me to achieve more at school.
Yeah.
I would never be number 2 at school. I would always be number 1.
Yeah.
Always be number 1.
And
the other guys with the small heads, they used to believe, big heads actually have got an advantage.
And who are the other people that you acknowledge in the book?
That is in the lower primary, and then in the higher primary as well. There is a teacher who used to use a cane to cane people that were out of order.
Yeah.
Now, the way I was so afraid of being caned, he made me work hard because I was afraid of the cane.
Hey, I had one like that. We used to call him Mr. Lancaster.
Yeah.
It's It's just one of those things. And when you think of homework, you start with his.
Yes, absolutely. And actually, he made me work hard.
Yeah.
Because I did not want to go that route.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also, in my high school, I do acknowledge my teachers at the high school. There's one particular teacher who was teaching us accounting. So now he used to make a competition in the classroom.
Yeah.
And says, everybody please bring 5 cents. We're going to put it in the pool in here. The one who gets the highest marks takes the whole amount.
Yeah.
It is theirs. So now we used to work hard, and we were doing accounting, speaking about money.
Yeah.
And people were given the incentive of money to do well in accounting.
Yeah.
So we did very, very well.
Sounds like a great book. And how do people get hold of the book?
So now I haven't officially launched.
Yeah. 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 Let's give those details. That's exactly how you would be able to get Pastor Chris Mukoki. And for the interest of that slight transmission pause, let me rather ask him to repeat those details so that you will be able to get the appropriate details. Can we repeat those details?
Yes, you can find me on Facebook. My name is Chris, Chris. My surname is Mukoki, Mukoki, /Sono. Actually, Sono is my clan name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because Mukoki is my, actually...
I read that interesting story.
Yes, so Mukoki was my great-grandfather's nickname.
Yeah.
So he grew up in an area, I would say Venda.
Yeah.
But it's not really Venda, but there were Venda people as well as Tsonga people.
Yeah.
The place called Hamashao. So, and then my great-grandfather got a nickname of Mukoki because he was a biltong man.
Yeah.
So he used to sell biltong. Then Mukoki became his name.
Yeah.
Became his trademark. Then when my grandfather went to school, they said, no, Mukoki.
Yeah.
So Mukoki became the
surname.
Yeah, and then the Sono took a back seat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you saying everybody else can actually order the book directly from you. Let's repeat that cell number again.
Yes, the cell number is 082-784-3198. You can also use that number for WhatsApp as well. Then I can be able to respond, take your details, come and deliver the book for you. And maybe you might want to know the price as well. The price is only $100 because I did this book because I just want people to read about my life. It's not about money. It's not about anything else, but it's about recouping the cost of printing the book. The book is printed in very, very nice glossy cover and printed well, and it's got pictures in it and about 130 pages. You'll be able to enjoy the book. So please do get the book and enjoy.
Pastor Chris, thank you so much for coming through and honoring us with your presence.
Thank you.
We are always grateful to have you. And for some who don't know, we come from long, from radio.
Yeah.
and
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, from the same school, taking kids to the same school.
Yeah. I remember my daughter was in your school where you were the member of the SGB as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
No, that is fine. Thank you so much for coming through.
Yes, thank you.
And this is how we ended with Pastor Chris Mukoki tonight. And you would definitely be joining us next week, same time, same place, as we continue to impact and talk about these issues of leadership, and especially in the workspaces where all these things are happening. The issue here is that, especially with what we are talking about today, the pandemic is with us, and we understand, but most importantly is for us to become our brother's keepers. And the issues about relations within the workplace It is all about the production of the companies that we are serving or the organizations that we are serving. But most importantly, to also be able to service our families the best way that we can ever have. Thank you very much for coming, for joining us. And we are able to come back to you next week. For tonight, we say goodbye and God bless you.
I've had this problem.
Big problem.
I really need it.
And I kept searching.
And searching.
There are so many choices.
But I finally did it.
Yes. Thank you.
If you are looking for one as well,
Look no further.
Here's a really good one.
Just use mine.
Use mine.
I'm very satisfied.
Definitely recommend.
Problem gone.
thank you.